Transformation of egoistic consciousness, Part 1. The word ego is the Latin pronoun for I. It is only the consciousness of the false self, i.e., self-centered I, and has no existence of its own. It is like a maniac, thinking, posing, and acting like a king. His imaginary kingdom has no real existence. His egoistic kingdom exists only in his deranged intelligence and imaginative beliefs. Therefore, the maniac is an impostor. The real kingdom of God is above and beyond the grasp of imagination and illusory intelligence. God is divine light, divine intelligence, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. When there is no light of God, there is darkness of ignorance, illusions, false beliefs, and misconceptions in which humanity thinks, acts, and lives under the spell of false ego of I, me, and mine. This unreal and non-existent elusive darkness which governs our thoughts and actions is called illusion or Maya in the scriptures. The apparent elusive existence of darkness is in fact the absence of God's light, i.e. Nam, and is the root cause of duality in our consciousness. Light and darkness are antithetic and opposite and cannot coexist. Likewise, faith in God's existence is antithetic and contradictory to the egoistic conception of I, me, and mine. To illustrate this fine and sublime point and make it more comprehensive, a concrete example of electricity and its gadgets may be helpful. Electricity is generated in a central powerhouse and is distributed and diverted for various uses through different kinds of gadgets. The same electricity illuminates bulbs of different colors, shapes, sizes, and wattage. We know that it is the electricity which is the life and light of the bulb. The filament is only an instrument for the projection and manifestation of the latent current. The outer glass case is meant to protect the filament. It would sound so absurd and elusive on the part of the bulb to claim and boast that it is giving the light. That would be tantamount to the expression of false and gross ego on the part of the bulb. Precisely the same way, the divine life current working through us is the gift of the Lord, and we are different kinds of instruments employed by Him for the manifestation and working of His universal drama and for the projection of His divine scheme. But in our illusion, we think that we are the authors of all our physical and intellectual achievements, conveniently forgetting that the source of all energy, light, and wisdom is God. To claim and boast of materialistic achievements of our limited deceptive intelligence as the outcome of our personal wisdom is stupendous human blasphemy and illusion of egoistic consciousness. It is a pity that with all our intellectual learning and advanced civilization, we humans should have been so influenced and brainwashed by the illusion of our false ego as to have the audacity to play God. There is a divine life current called the wordless word, Shabad, running through the universe which creates, develops, directs, protects, maintains, sustains, harmonizes, beautifies, integrates, disintegrates, regenerates all life in this vast universe. Somehow we have become indifferent, doubtful, ignorant, forgetful, unconscious of our heritage of divine light and wisdom. Consequently, we have been entertaining, cultivating, feeding, nourishing, developing, sustaining, glorifying, magnifying, deifying the idea and conception of our false ego through the expression, projection, and practice of I, me, and mine for aeons in countless past lives. Our intelligence has been so ego-oriented that this false conception of I, me, and mine has become a deep, strong, unshakable, uncompromising conviction and faith with us. Therefore, we have become indifferent, disinterested, and averse to listen, think, entertain, believe in anything contradictory to and inconsistent with our ingrained and established egoistic ideas and false dual convictions and conceptions. This false conception of I and mine has permeated, absorbed into, and saturated our very being, and we have become ego personified individuals. The tragedy is that this false mental conception of I, me, and mine, first, has permeated and absorbed into the very fibers of our being and become part and parcel of our lives. Two, has been accepted by us as a reality in our lives. Third, in fact, it works and projects through every aspect of our lives. Fourth, has become our second nature. And fifth, we cannot think or believe in anything outside and beyond our egoistic consciousness. In fact, we have been expressing, manifesting, projecting, proliferating, justifying, institutionalizing, magnifying, glorifying, advertising, propagating, legalizing this false ego in our daily routine and in every aspect of our lives since aeons. This false sense of ego, first, is the driving force behind our stupendous materialistic achievements, brilliant literary and scientific knowledge, and exquisitive emotional flights of thoughts and aspirations. And two, is the basic foundation of our so-called religions, beliefs, dogmas, philosophies, rites, and rituals. And third, has diluted, modified, changed, galvanized, and transformed our thoughts, habits, characters, and destinies. And fourth, has driven us into becoming prodigal sons to suffer all the physical, mental, and emotional agonies and miseries at the hands of the Satan or Maya. And fifth, is the root cause of our selfishness and desires, which drive us into the quagmire of all kinds of evils and sins, i.e., greed, deceit, jealousy, hatred, anger, corruption, sensuality, strife, quarrels, and even wars. And sixth, has blunted the sense of our discrimination between right and wrong, truth and falsehood, virtue and evil, God and Maya in our thoughts and perceptions. And seventh, has molded and degenerated the conception and profession of our so-called religions to suit our selfish materialistic designs and convenience, thereby making the practice of religion superfluous, ritualistic, showy, self-deceiving, and hypocritical. And eighth, has driven us to live knowingly or unknowingly dual or multifaceted lives. And ninth, has so often galvanized and aggrandized our convictions and beliefs in so-called religious dogmas that we have become bigots to the point of fanaticism. When ego puts on the garb of religion, woe to the humanity. It plays havoc with the humanity and makes a mockery of the religion. In our blind religious zeal, we have perpetrated untold sufferings and cruelty on humanity and crucified many godly saints and prophets in the name of religion. It is ironical that in spite of, one, all our physical, intellectual, emotional advancement and boastful modern civilization, two, proliferation of numerous religions into various sects and subsects, three, profusion of religious knowledge and philosophies of various scriptures, four, propagation and exhortation of religious sermons and dogmas from numerous scriptures and religious groups through modern scientific means of electronics like transistors, tape recorders, televisions, and videos. Fifth, multiplication and exaltation of religious temples all over the world. And sixth, myriad of so-called sadhus or godmen preaching and propagating different doctrines of various faiths and religions. Humanity has not been able to discern, understand, comprehend, realize, grasp, recognize, identify, isolate, control, or neutralize the nature and working of this false ego of I, me, and mine, culminating into the greatest fraud perpetrated on humanity by the Satan or Maya through our own ignorance and dual misconception. This elusive Maya has exploited the intellectual and emotional faculties of our egoistic mind as its tools to produce, direct, enact, run, and govern the vast cosmic drama of the universe. The results of our egoistic participation in this vast cosmic drama are untold physical, mental, and emotional lifelong sufferings of agony, sorrow, and miseries, mixed and diluted with illusory fleeting happiness, occasional thrills, and temporary sensuous enjoyments to assuage the sting of karmic suffering. We conveniently forget that this unreal drama of Maya is rooted, projected, perfected, enacted in the illusionary plane of our intellectual and emotional egoistic consciousness. The irony is that, though we act under the inspiration and influence of the five senses, which are agents of the Maya, our acts are governed by the law of karma, i.e., reap as you sow. For the sins committed under the impulse of the five senses, we humans have to suffer the consequences of being naive enough not to be able to see through the big elusive game of Maya, having succumbed to the instigation and lure of glittering grandiose temptations of Maya, voluntarily choosing unreal and elusive Maya as our master and opting to become its dedicated slaves, speaking as master's voice and acting as its puppets. Done, Guru Nanak.